Employee advocacy is a huge area of opportunity that you can have your SMEs representing from an ambassador perspective, the organization, but your sales team as well. And to your point, maybe somebody doesn't want to follow the corporate channel because they don't want to just be bombarded with a bunch of content that's coming on a regular cadence a couple times a week. But
Yeah.
maybe they feel more comfortable following the individual that they actually spoke to and met at the booth.
Hey everybody, back again with Quickfire Marketing. I'm your host, E.T. Mack. Got a great guest today. His name's Ryan Mitchell, Social Media Manager at Vertex Inc. Ryan, give us a little preview about yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, E.T. It's great to be here with you. I've been doing social media marketing for the better part of 14 or 15 years now. I think what was really exciting for me with social media was, not to date myself, but when I was getting into the whole space, wasn't really established. Think about where we are now, where we've gone in the last 5 to 10 years, the way that social media has evolved and become more of just a nice to have into a necessity for your marketing and business functions. It's been a cool evolution, and it's been a really exciting time to be a part of it. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So it's almost 15 years, right? How have budgets grown?
I think earlier on in my career, earlier on in social media's evolution, it was more of an experimental. How can we utilize social media tactics as a part of our marketing plan, as part of our external communications, as part of our business plans across a B2B or a B2C landscape? I think now it's less of it'd be nice to have if we had extra, and more of this is table stakes. We need to have this as a part of our go-to-market strategy. Traveling around the world, seeing your customers, seeing prospects, it's not always the easiest thing to do. Being able to bridge that gap with a digital vehicle like social media has been a seamless transition for a lot of businesses.
No, that makes perfect sense. I met Ryan a little while back, probably like a month and a half ago now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Met through LinkedIn, and we started talking. We had a great conversation around kind of social media, and I did branch on how, if I was going to create a budget today, what is the percentage of spend of the marketing budget do you think should go to the social media team or any teams that will impact that?
You might not love my answer here, but the way that I look at it is I try to say, okay, from a value perspective, return on investment. There was a really cool term that I heard recently, return on objective. I love that. I love that idea of thinking from a performance and metric perspective. I think folks look at marketing from a branding perspective, from a performance metrics perspective. And social media is kind of that crossroads, right? You are doing brand awareness top of funnel. You're doing the demand gen, mid, bottom of funnel activities. You're supporting the full marketing suite. How do I assign a budget? The reason I say you might not like it is I try to look at how do we maximize our value without having to necessarily go crazy. And I think there are a lot of great ways through LinkedIn with the different paid campaign features that are there, understanding who your target audience is, where they are in the buyer cycle. That is never going to be a silver bullet, right? Because there's so many different nuances to it. But really having your finger on the pulse of, okay, who's in my ICP? Where are they in the buyer cycle? And then what kind of content can we provide them that's not just what we have ready, but it's actually going to provide impacting value to them, credibility, authenticity. And that's going to build that relationship. I don't know if there's ever a sweet spot or a exact measurement from a percent perspective. It truly depends on, like you said, the demand gen functions, the events, the conferences that you're investing in. But really, I look at, okay, from a marketing perspective, from a sales perspective, how can we provide the most value? It really depends on where you also want to be spending your dollars.
Okay, so that covers kind of the inbound or like the willing participants.
Sure.
What do you do about those that are maybe a little more guarded, right?
I think this goes back to a conversation that we were having a little bit earlier about knowing your audience, knowing your ICP, and knowing the different personas. I would say if you're at a booth and you're having a conversation with somebody, I would ask them, so who do you follow? Who are the influencers that are meaningful to you? Who are the companies that are meaningful to you? Who are the folks, the SMEs that you follow for information? What builds credibility to you? What channels do you use? What digital publications do you read? What shows do you watch? What podcasts do you listen to? Well, all of a sudden, right there, you can start to understand their entire perspective of how value and how content is delivered to them and how they prefer it. And then all of a sudden, you can say, all right, to that point, here's how we provide value. Here are the different ways that we try to create a regular cadence of content.
Are those conversations you have with the sales team and the extended marketing team as a social media manager, you're like, hey, can you ask this? This would be a good idea. Or even with like, can I hop into some of your case studies or your clients? Like, can I talk to them and just pick their brains?
But yeah, I think you have to have conversations with your sales team to say, we're not trying to put out a post every hour or every day. There's a balance, right? To not be spammy. But there's also a balance between how do you get content to your sales folks. Employee advocacy is huge. So we talked about the evolution of social channels. Let's talk about the evolution of how social media is used unilaterally across marketing. Employee advocacy is a huge area of opportunity that you can have your SMEs representing from an ambassador perspective, the organization, but your sales team as well. And to your point, maybe somebody doesn't want to follow the corporate channel because they don't want to just be bombarded with a bunch of content that's coming on a regular cadence a couple times a week. But
Yeah.
maybe they feel more comfortable following the individual that they actually spoke to and met at the booth.
No, that's perfect. And then lastly, because we deal with a lot of startups, what are some ideas that you have to finding new watering holes in the social media landscape?
It's a great question. I think the beginning point is understanding that nothing we do as marketers is in a vacuum. And so, what I mean by that is think about the work that we do as social media marketers. You're not just working in social, you're
Mm-hmm.
working for a function of demand gen, you're working for a function of brand awareness, subject matter expertise, elevating that digital presence for those folks. There are a lot of different functionality purposes for social media these days. And so understanding that and then saying, okay, how do we work with our product marketing team or our product team and understand what's our differentiator? What's our narrative? Who's it going to resonate with? How do we talk differently to different personas? How do we drive value into the marketplace while we're not selling anything? And what I mean by that is you're always selling, but you're not pushing a post that says, click here to fill out this form to become a prospect. No, you're trying to provide value. How are you engaging and educating, providing a blog that has some great tips on how to optimize something that they're working? There are different ways that you can look at it. So, not working in a vacuum, you're working with your colleagues, you're working with the product folks, like I said, you're working with sales to understand win loss, what works, what doesn't work.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. Took
Of course.
quite a
Thank
bit of
you
your
for having
day,
me.
but it was the content you shared was just valuable. It's amazing. I love it. And especially the path. I agree. Social media now encompasses everything. It is your brand. It is your story. It's your content. It's a lot of what we have to do with B2B marketing as a whole. And it's not even the future. It's already here. So I can't wait to see how you use our experience and keep transforming in the future as well.
I appreciate your time today, ET. I think the only thing I would add there is it's not only it's here, it's everywhere.
You're a brand new startup. You want to come in, you want to take out the Girl Scout cookies. What are we doing?
We have to take them out. I love Girl Scout cookies. They're delicious.
I know we're going to replace them.
How do you incorporate what really works with the product of a Girl Scout cookie? And what's a new product that you could, integrate that into? I don't want to say something as simple as like Girl Scout cookie ice cream, but like, hey, why not?
I always pick on the Girl Scouts because they're one of the last remaining definitely brick and mortar options that you have. Like they just find you everywhere, they pop up.
They're household names.